I vividly remember when I was about 5, I remember the Somali Air Force fighter jets flying over our heads. It was one time, it was around about 88. I remember me and my mother were under a tree, and under the tree it was raining that time. I could hear the airplanes. It was a MiG-28, Russian, very sophisticated Russian fighter jets. And then I could hear from a distance the aircraft, fighter jet. It's as if the skies were being ripped, like a banging noise. And then suddenly I saw the aircraft, and my mom was telling me, hide, otherwise the aircraft, they could spot us. So I was under the tree, and then I could hear the bombing. Shrapnel from a distance. But apparently some of the shrapnel got to us. They didn't hurt me much, but obviously I could feel it. So then, it's pretty sad the young government is killing their own civilians rather than protecting. Plus they're using their own fighter jets against their own people rather than invaders.
The people that were attacking you, they came full on into your city, and they forced everyone.
The government forces.
The government forces.
The government forces were attacking the civilians that they were supposed to protect from the enemies who were invading. And so the enemy, in the terminology of the government, the enemy. Now there's two ways to say the enemy. The government is supposed to protect for the civilian, for the general population. The enemy that's invading the country is supposed to be the Ethiopians or the Kenyans or any other country invades. But then it suddenly turned out to be their own population who were fighting against the government. So then the government listed them as a terrorist group. So
did they force you out of your city? Where did you go to?
We fled over to the Ethiopian border.
And how long did you stay there for?
Well, we weren't there for a long time. I was fortunate enough to kind of fled. And then me and my mother went down to Mogadishu. And then while in the north there was this chaos and bombing, suddenly Mogadishu was like a heaven, man. It was nice. There was no gunshots. You could hear here and there little clips and little bullets here and there. Because the people in this now, plus you have to remember them in the 80s, the level of technology and how we have TVs nowadays, none of that stuff existed. This was a dictatorship. The country was under dictatorship. So nothing could go out of the country and nothing could come in.
So there was no,
so it was very hard.
There was no international help from other countries?
Well, at the time, Somalia was a big friend of the Americans. America had a big military base in Somalia. They had a very big military base in Somalia. And at the same time, the Americans were digging oil in Somalia itself. So the Siad Barre, who was the president, if he was to tell the Americans to leave, obviously there would have been some sort of a help. But because the Americans, they didn't want their interests to be destroyed, so they just kept their mouth shut and let the government do what they had to do.
What was your emotions as a kid when all this was going on? How did you feel? How was your family feeling? How was the people in your city feeling?
My mom was very traumatic. She's never seen dead people in front of her in her life, so she suffered a trauma, nightmares. She used to fear a lot, and I think that's how she kind of. For her it was, for me as well, it was very bad. I remember it very clearly. I've got a good picture, I can clearly remember exactly, just like yesterday, what was happening. For me as a young kid, it was pretty awful. Because when I give an example how I could relate to my stories. Example is when I went to Mogadishu. In Mogadishu, I saw lifestyle was very good. People was doing the usual things, this and that. And my family had a big house in Mogadishu, the capital city, and their house was near the airport, Mogadishu airport. My family, alhamdulillah, they were a very wealthy family. We had a very big house, very wealthy, and one time because we lived near the airport, I could see airplanes flying over our heads. And sometimes I would be scared going under the table or hiding, saying, that's a fighter jet killing us. And then my uncle and stuff, they used to laugh and say, no. So that just tells you exactly how.
What your mindset was.
Yeah, mindset was frightening. You know, I could see the guns on the soldiers. And I remember, I tell you one time, it was around about, I hope I'm not mistaken, was it in July or August? I heard gunshots in the Mogadishu city. This was in 1989. I heard gunshots, and I thought it was, no, my mother thought it must have been some people protesting, because people in the north, people in the south, they heard what's happening in the north, and at the same time there was uprising against the government, because the people in the south, they were against what the government was doing to the northern peoples. So there was a big riot in Mogadishu at the same time in late 89.
So how did it all end?
Well, the war's still going on 20 years in the south now.
Still going on
Still
now?
going on, yeah. Functions, fighting. What it was, it was politics, and then turned tribal, and now it's turned warlords. So it turns to politics. Who's gonna? When the government collapsed in Mogadishu, there were two warlords. 2 became 4, 4 became 6, 6 became 8, became 8. Warlords became politics, fighting is politics. Warlords, no, tribes, warlords became, who knows what's happening now, Shabab and Bashash, whatever their names are. Shababs and fighting religions. So that's how it came. It's been chaos since then.